Hello and welcome to tonight's weather update. It's 10 o'clock, August 29, 2023, and a cloudy day for the most part today. And we're going to show you some photos from today because we're going to talk about the hurricanes first. But we're going to first talk about, because we got a lot to talk about with these hurricanes. All right, it's not the right one. All right, this is the right one. All right, so go back. Just show you the clouds that we had today in the sky. We had dark clouds and even some sprinkles over the middle of the island. This is looking north. Really just dark. Look at this. I mean, pretty cool seeing these kind of clouds. You'd think there was a thunderstorm there, but there was not. Again, this was this afternoon. Really interesting looking skies. And then we had, later on, we had these really pretty altocumulus clouds in the sky. You can see here, very pretty altocumulus clouds. You can see right here, really beautiful altocumulus clouds, as you call it. These are the kind of skies you get when there are hurricanes around. Speaking of that, I have a video coming up to you at Jones Beach, where there was already, Franklin is causing tremendous flooding at Jones Beach. Here we go. This is what it looked like. The whole beach was flooded. You couldn't access the beach at all. The water kept coming up. It was pretty crazy. And I have a whole video for you. You definitely want to stay tuned to that. Here's another look at the sky. But you can see here, again, looking at this flooding. You see the whole beach is underwater. No way to actually get to the ocean. So let's get started with first we're going to talk about Franklin, and then we got to get to Idalia, because Franklin is slowly weakening. Let's go to the. Let's get Franklin out of the way first. We do have a tropical storm warning in effect for Bermuda, but luckily it stays out in the middle of the ocean, and it's not going to really bother anyone. But it is already. Look at how far the storm is, and it's already having major effects on us. It's pretty crazy. So tropical storm conditions expected in Bermuda beginning tomorrow morning as of 8 p.m. It is located 31.9 north, 69.4 west, about 275 miles west of Bermuda. Maximum sustained winds are 125 miles an hour. Moving northeast at 12 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure 947 millibars to 7.97 inches. Maximum sustained winds. It's now a category 3, so it is slowly weakening. Hurricane force winds extend outward up to 35 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 150 miles. NOAA buoy 1048, located a few hundred miles west of Bermuda, recently reported a sustained wind of 83 miles an hour and a gust of 101. That's pretty incredible right there. So let's take a look at Franklin on the satellite, and we'll get to our weather toward the end of this video, because we're going to talk about all this tropical stuff going on. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. So let's talk about Franklin here first of all. We'll go and look at the satellite loop. Look at how big that eye is. Wow, that's a big eye. That is a big eye. That eye's got to be like at least 30 miles across. There's a scale here, but that is really incredible. Take a look at that. Wow. That's a big eye. So these storms, this winter we're seeing storms with bigger eyes. And again, though, and it's already, like I said, having major effects on us, as you'll see in that video. But yeah, look at that. That's pretty incredible. Let's go look at Franklin here on the infrared here. And again, just look at how big that eye is. I wish they had a mileage scale, but I mean, that is huge. That is huge. Let's see if we can go to the MODIS satellite and take a look at Franklin here. And we can somehow get a scale of that eye for you. All right, so I'm going to move this over a little bit, and we're going to move the eye into position here. Yeah, that eye is almost 40 to... That eye is about 35, 40 miles across. That is incredible. So that is a big eye. Franklin is just a monster. Look at it. This is incredible. And here's Idalia. So let's get to Idalia, because this is the one that's threatening land right now. So tropical storm Idalia. Let's go. No, I'm sorry. Hurricane Idalia. It's a hurricane. Became a hurricane last night. It's on its way to becoming a major hurricane. And I have yet to even look at the latest update for Idalia. So let's go to that right now, because this is the one that we got to worry about here. Public advisory. Idalia continues to strengthen, likely to become a major hurricane soon. So it's on the cusp of becoming Category 3. As of 8 p.m., its location 26.9 north, 84.7 west, about 155 miles west-southwest of Tampa, Florida, and about 245 miles south of Tallahassee, Florida. Maximum sustained winds are 105 miles an hour. It's moving north at 16 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure, 965 millibars to 8.50 inches. And as of, again, the Idalia is moving toward the north. It is moving toward the north at 16 miles an hour. Northward to northeastward motion is expected through tonight, with Idalia Center forecast to track to reach the Big Bend coast of Florida on Wednesday morning. I guess that's what they call that area of Florida. After landfall, the center of Idalia is forecast to turn toward the northeast and east-northeast, moving near or along the coast of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina late Wednesday into Thursday. Observations from Hurricane Hunter aircraft indicate that the maximum sustained winds have increased to near 105 miles an hour with higher gusts. Additional strengthening is forecast, and Idalia is expected to become a major hurricane tonight before it reaches the Big Bend coast of Florida. Idalia is likely to still be a hurricane while moving across southern Georgia, and possibly when it reaches the coast of Georgia or southern Carolina on Wednesday. Wow, that would be something if the storm stays a hurricane and it emerges as a hurricane out over the coast. It's possible. Hurricane force winds extend out to 25 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend out to 160 miles. The minimum central pressure based on Hurricane Hunter aircraft is 965 millibars, or 28.50 inches. Let's take a look again at the map, and you'll see hurricane warnings are in effect for much of Florida here. Tropical storm warning south of the tropical storm warning is in effect for the east coast of Florida. However, if it stays a hurricane, who knows? This might actually need to be upgraded to a hurricane warning. But it's going to be, this storm is really going to be a bad one. So let's now go and look at the satellite imagery for Idalia. Oh, yeah, look at Idalia. Oh, yeah, look at that. Look at that. You see it's rapidly strengthening. Take a look at the bright white there. That's a sign of a rapidly strengthening hurricane, and this is when it gets very destructive, when we have a rapidly strengthening hurricane making landfall. And this is what's going on with Idalia. It's got plenty of warm water to work with, and you can see how bright white those clouds are. It's really symmetric, and it's about, like I said, it looks like fortunately for Tampa, it looks like the worst will avoid Tampa, but they'll still have to deal with some storm surges. But this area here of the coast, and I'm not too familiar with this. I know yesterday I said it was lightly populated. I mean, it's still populated. It's just not as heavily populated as other areas. So a lot of people are under evacuation orders tonight because of this storm. Let's go now look at Idalia. And let's go to current storms. We'll switch this to Idalia. And here is Idalia right here. We'll look at it on the infrared satellite, and you can see, really getting into a rapid strengthening phase now as it moves in. And if we, again, look at the spaghetti models, which we really don't need to at this point, but you'll see where the track is. But then once it gets out of the ocean, there are a few, again, that loop it back. And then there are a few that curve it back toward Nova Scotia. So this thing, I think this thing is going to be reborn as a hurricane once it emerges over the East Coast. Honestly, I really do. And I would expect that it would. But, we'll have to, we got to deal with the landfall right now in Florida right now. This is a surface plot here looking at some of the conditions around Idalia. And we're going to actually go to the weather and hazards map right now, get some observations around Idalia. You can see the bright yellow area, that's where the hurricane warning is. And it's also a tornado watch in effect for that, actually. And the hurricane warning, actually, we got tropical storm warning south of that. And because there could be tornadoes, too. It could spawn tornadoes. And then hurricane warnings also well into Florida, and even hurricane watches now for the east parts of Georgia. So they're going to have to keep this in mind. Georgia, there may be hurricane conditions in these areas as well. And you can see tropical storm watches in effect for the Outer Banks of Carolina. High surf advisories for us. And again, we've got all that flooding going on already. And that's from Franklin. All right, so we're going to just look at some observations here from some of these buoys here. Wave height is 7 feet. But that does not state the amount of push that's coming in. We got the lunar high tide combined with Franklin, which is, of course, going to be bad for people dealing with Idalia, too. let's see if we can get some observations here closer to Franklin here. We have an 80 degrees with a dew point of 80. West-northwest wind at 34, gusting to 45. Your wave height, there isn't a wave height listed at this buoy here. Kind of curious as what these wave heights would be. But I really want to talk more about Idalia. Don't see any wave heights being recorded here. It looked like this buoy really got into some pretty significant conditions here. Gust to 92. I wish we would have had the seas. But I guess we don't. This buoy here is reporting a wave height of 10 feet. But again, I'm not really going to talk too much about Franklin, although it's very impressive. And it is having effects on our area. But it is about Idalia right now. This is the storm that's threatening this area of Florida. And there's going to be massive storm surge flooding and power outages as well. I don't see too many buoys showing up here from where Idalia is, unfortunately. I do not see that. We have a buoy here. East-northeast to 22, gusting to 29. And no wave height on that buoy either. So it seems like there is a complete lack of buoys in this area here. Here's one that's reporting 14.1 feet here off the west coast of Florida. So you're going to see a lot of that storm surge flooding. If we look at Sarasota right now, it's 75, it's 79, and the wind is southeast to 22, gusting to 37, and they are already dealing with the rain from Idalia. That's the other thing that's going to happen. So let's look at the radar presentation of Idalia right now. And you can see here, yep, there's a front. We'll get to our weather in a little bit. Look, this is just a simulated radar, I think. But here, look at Idalia. Oh, my. Wow. So, yeah, this thing is really wrapping up. And you can see the rain bands are already coming in to places like Sarasota and Tampa. This is the outer band right here. And then here's the center of the storm. We have another rain band coming into Appalachia right now. And this is your storm right here. And it is very impressive. We're going to just put this in a loop here so you can take a look at this here. You can see the strengthening going on. And we can also actually go back to, I want to go back to some satellite imagery as well if we can. Let's do that. This is Idalia right here. Let's see if we can, I'm going to go back to southeast here, and we're going to go southeast U.S., and we're going to go to the GLM flash intensity just to take a look at all the lightning that's going on in these outer bands. And this is where the tornadoes can happen, right? This is where your very powerful straight-line hurricane force winds are in the eye wall. But this is where you could see some severe weather and even some tornadoes, perhaps, that could affect this area. Let's go and look at the power outage situation in Florida. It probably hasn't ramped up that much. Well, it's already yellow, so we already have 11,000, and this is going to get a lot worse. It's probably going to turn red by after midnight, probably. But, yeah, this is a very definitely powerful hurricane here that is heading toward Florida. You can see it's definitely rapidly strengthening. It's got plenty of warm water to work with, and this is going to be a major disaster for this particular part of Florida here. And St. Petersburg, which sticks out a little bit, could also be dealing with some flooding as well. And, stay tuned to posts because I'll be sharing a lot about Idalia as it makes landfall in Florida tonight into tomorrow morning. So let's go to the models here, and obviously this is again the latest on Idalia. This is again the latest loop on Idalia. You can see a very tight circulation there. That is definitely strengthening right there. But let's go look at some of the models here because there are a few that actually there's one that actually takes it up to a Cat 4. You never know, but this thing can intensify very rapidly. So may have another Idalia update tonight, I think. That's the way we're going to work it tonight. Meanwhile, here's Franklin. So let's look at the GFS here. Here's Franklin, and that's going to continue to slowly weaken. Here's Idalia making landfall and then dumping lots and lots of rain over, again, there's going to be flooding. And South Carolina, too, is going to get hit hard. Meanwhile, we have the high building in for us. We may see some fringe effects as far as the clouds go. And the water will continue to probably be rough, and Idalia will probably stir it up even more. But there's Franklin right there. Taking that curve, and a really early curve too, I might add. But we should have nice weather as we get to later tomorrow and to Friday and to Saturday. So let's go take a look at our weather for a little bit here. All right, so here is the HRRR 0Z. Haven't seen that much rain, but we could see, again, some showers or maybe even a thunderstorm around noon or late morning tomorrow. And then the humidity starts dropping. And then here's Idalia moving off to the south. All right. You'll see the dew points come down. So here we are dealing with some humidity, but the humidity starts dropping. Later tomorrow, you'll notice the winds go to the west. And then later tomorrow night, they shift to the north. And that really brings in the dry air. North to northeast winds on Thursday, really brings a lot of comfortable air into the region. I'm just going to shift over to the GFS. And then you'll see Thursday, northeast winds. And then we have northeast winds to almost east winds on Friday. And then as we get toward the weekend, you'll see the winds shift to the south, then west on Sunday, and then taking into Monday here, you'll notice the southwest flow. So that's going to get our temperatures up. But meanwhile, looking at our temperatures for tomorrow, we'll see temperatures probably a little bit warmer or a lot warmer because of the sun that might come out later in the on of the day. So expect low to mid 80s. If you're in New Jersey, maybe upper 80s to around 90. Then tomorrow night, temperatures drop. And then Thursday, we got temperatures only in the upper 70s, mid to upper 70s on Friday as well. And then as we get toward Saturday, you'll notice temperatures nearing toward 80. And then we got to deal with some 80s on Sunday. And then Monday, we could be dealing with some heat with temperatures perhaps 90 or better. But we're going to talk about that a little more in a day or two. We'll look at our skies briefly as well. The cloud shield, again, we have the clouds. That we'll have some clouds tomorrow in the morning, obviously, and then it'll clear out more. Then we have the clouds from Idalia that might brush by us on Thursday. Might make for some pretty skies on the sunset, and then clear skies for Friday. And then Saturday we'll probably have some more high clouds. And then, so let's go to the RGM, look at the clouds here. And I really want to get back to talking about Idalia. So you'll see tomorrow, you'll see the cloud may actually clear out in the afternoon for a little bit, and then the shield from Idalia may brush us. It may brush us. We'll be on the northern fringe of it, extreme northern fringe. It's going to be an interesting looking sky for Thursday if we do get into those cirrus clouds. And if they hang around for sunset, we could have quite a sunset. And then Friday, we clear those clouds out with improving conditions. But Thursday could be clear. It could be. It's very hard to say how far north those clouds will get. Smoke, really briefly go over the smoke here. And I know the fires are still going in Canada. We know that already. But we'll look at the smoke here. And this is going into tomorrow. Actually, it is showing a little bit of smoke coming in tomorrow. And then as we get into Thursday, it would be clear. But then you'll notice that we have more smoke coming. So we may be dealing with smoke. I'm thinking probably more like into the weekend. I think we're going to be dealing with some hazy skies perhaps. But again, we'll talk about that later. All right. Let's get back to Idalia here, and I want to look at some of the models here. So let's go to the southeast U.S. here, and we are going to go into precipitation mode here, so you can get a chance to show you. This is, let me move this into the HRRR. Let's go look at the HRRR. So this is the HRRR, and you'll see it deepens it. So it deepens it even more, and then it makes that landfall right into Florida, right into that right into that, what do they call that? I forgot the name, but right into that pocket there, and then the center of it goes over southern Georgia and into South Carolina, and then you're still going to get the rain. The rain is going to probably make it as far north as maybe southern Georgia. All right, and if we look at the amount of rain to fall here, you'll see it's going to be quite a bit of rain in some of these areas. And some areas could get a foot of rain. So it's going to be not only the flooding from the salt water, but also the flooding from all the rainfall that occurs. So even if you're inland, you're going to be dealing with the impacts from this storm for sure. We can look at a few more models. Let's go to the NAM3. Don't have enough of the 0Z in, but we can use the 18Z. And again, showing all that rain that's going to fall. And if we go look at this, which we're going to do. So you could see here, again, that heavy rain, that eye wall is going to probably make it in probably sometime in the morning. That eye wall is going to get in. and then you'll see that it moves again. There's going to be a lot of rain, and if we go to the Storm Prediction Center, which I didn't put up here as well, they actually have a special hazard area for severe weather in Florida as well. Looking at tomorrow, that hazard moves to the southeast. So again, as this thing moves over land, we often see tornadoes develop, and there could be a number of tornadoes perhaps spawned from Idalia. So I'm going to look at a few more models. Let's go over to the Ventus Sky here, enhance our view a little bit here, make our way down south here, and here is Idalia. So if we go to wind gusts, you'll see here, this is Idalia, and already it's underestimated. Maximum sustained winds are already 105. So we're going to move this over to Wednesday. We'll go to, and you'll see how this strengthens, though it doesn't show it strengthening. This is why I don't like looking at the models, because I think they underestimate this storm. I think it's going to get stronger. This is the HRRR here. You can see it looks like it's getting stronger as it's making landfall. So again, they call this the Big Bend area or something. So this area here is going to get hit very, very hard, and this is going to be a major disaster. And again, this is 8 o'clock. It's showing a landfall around 7 or 8 o'clock tomorrow. We're going to go and shift over to the windy.com. That's what I'm going to do next. So here's windy.com. This is the European model here, and I'm going to actually shift over to the NAM model. All right, because I think the NAM's got the best handle on it. Yep, that's the NAM's close to the maximum sustained winds. So most of the winds are right now offshore, but as we make our way toward midnight, you'll see those winds start to come onshore. And then look at how this thing just blossoms. 4 a.m. It continues to strengthen. So, and again, where this eye wall hits is going to make a difference if you get into the eye wall. Now, if you're in the eye wall, you're going to experience severe destruction. That is, most trees knocked down, structures damaged, and of course, you're going to have that storm surge, which will be out. So this is where it's going to really hit. It looks like places like Appalachia, Caribbees. I mean, these are the areas where you're going to have some. This is, again, showing a landfall around 7 in the morning. That's going to affect this area. It's going to be quite an incredible thing. And then it makes its way inland, and this model takes the eye right over Tallahassee, which also is going to see Tallahassee is going to have some severe damage, and probably the whole city will probably lose power. There's going to be severe damage to the transmission system. Northern Florida, unlike southern Florida, does not have as robust of a power system, so I think we're going to see significant damage. And then following it into Wednesday, you'll still see the storm holding the circulation holding together. Here it goes over Georgia. NAM's a little further north than some of the other models, I notice. No, that's not the only model we're going to look at here, of course. So let's go back to the European model. And obviously, it's not going to look as well defined on the European, which is why I don't like using it. European is more of a what can I say? More of a let's go to the HRRR. All right. I know the other site uses the HRRR, but I just want to visualize it on here as well. So the HRRR takes it a little more to the east. So and it all depends on where this eye wall is going to hit. But you see there, it's going to make that track over Georgia. It's going to cause a lot of damage, and then it's going to reemerge over the Atlantic. And I'm kind of curious. The NAM goes a little further out here. The NAM's not going to take us any further out than that. But European, just for fun, we're going to look at the European here. And you see, once it gets out over the Atlantic, it's going to re-strengthen again. Meanwhile, here's Franklin, still a crazy strong storm. Look at how far north that is. And I'm kind of curious where this is going to be taken. This could be taken into the United Kingdom, perhaps, but it's just pretty nuts. But right now, the imminent threat is obviously Idalia. That's where we're going to see a lot of problems. So let's go look at the storm surge as well. Move this back to tonight. So here's the storm surge. You can see a lot of the west coast of Florida is going to be affected by storm surge. Here we are, and you can see the whole coast dealing with some significant storm surge here. that this area is going to deal with here, and they're going to deal with it into tomorrow, and then it reemerges over the Atlantic and will cause storm surge there. Meanwhile, let's look at Franklin, because Franklin, and you can see we're already feeling the effects of Franklin, and this thing is just a monster here. I mean, 33-foot waves. I mean, it's just crazy stuff here. And it's going to go north of Bermuda. Bermuda's going to get fringe effects, but everybody, Franklin is stirring up the surf everywhere. And then you have Idalia, so unfortunately, for those heading to the beach, hopefully by later in the weekend things will calm down, but right now this week things are going to be rough. And there's going to be a lot of flooding, and as you see in my video, there's going to be a lot of flooding. Look at all the big waves even way up here, so this is going to cause some major impacts. Some big waves, and look at these big waves around Greenland, too. And I'm wondering if this thing is going to hit Greenland. And this could cause, again, if I'm just going to put temperature up here for a moment, see if there's going to be a surge of warm air that could wind up getting into Greenland and causing a significant ice melt situation. So, you know, it's just, you know, we'll deal with that later, you know, because right now we got the imminent threat of Idalia that is, again, heading toward Florida. And, again, absolutely nuts. And I want to go to the Hurricane Center and see. Usually, don't they have a 10 o'clock update? We're just going to hit refresh here and see if they've updated it, if we have a new public advisory now. We have the latest is 8. Latest public advisory is 8 o'clock. So I think the next one is 11. I always thought there was one at 10. But this thing is going to strengthen rapidly, and I'm going to continue to provide updates on that for you as we watch this storm evolve, because this thing is going to explode when it reaches the coast. And let's see. Look at some surge maps here, for instance. All right, you can see 7 to 11 feet in this area here, and much of the west coast of Florida is going to deal with a lot of storm surge too. And the east coast, yeah, you're going to deal with it too. In Georgia and South Carolina, you're going to deal with some pretty significant and even a decent amount of storm surge up into South Carolina and North Carolina as well from the storm system. So this is going to be definitely a storm that is going to cause a lot of damage and, unfortunately, a lot of death. And we hope that pray that people just evacuate and get out of harm's way, because this is nothing to be messed with. So that's going to wrap up this weather update. Have a good night, and I'll probably have extra Idalia updates as we watch this thing get closer to the coast. And I can see there's a wind gust up to 43 now being reported at Sarasota. So that's going to wrap up this weather update. Pray for Florida. We are going to deal, and all the other areas, Georgia, South Carolina, they're going to get impacted by this as well. And, you know, eventually our number will be up, and we'll be the one staring down a monster hurricane. I'm hoping at least we can make it through this year before that happens. But it will happen. It will happen sooner than later. Here's a buoy that is reporting a wave height of 12.5 feet right now and a wind gust to 40 miles an hour. But there is a lot worse. There's just no buoys where the center of this thing is, unless they've all been knocked out. But we'll have more information as the night progresses and then we watch Idalia make this landfall in Florida. Have a good night.